Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Monday, February the 12th, 2024. It is currently 5:55 p.m. Central Time, and I am coming to you live from the Theology Central studio, located right here in Abilene, Texas. Well, it's been an absolutely crazy 24 hours plus. It really has. I've been working on so many different things, trying to come up with ideas, trying to come up with, a strategizing on what to do in regards to this podcast, its future. There's so many unanswered questions. But I wanted to turn on the microphone and respond to as a lot of you, because a lot of you have taken the time to email me. And so I just want to try to give you an answer of where we are and where we are headed. As many of you know, on Sunday, I was notified and told that, hey, basically, as a church, more money is going out than coming in. And so things are going to have to be cut, right? And of course, those things that will be cut will have to be, you got really two options. One, the only compensation I get is my house payment. So my house payment may be going bye-bye. So that obviously will have a major financial impact on me and means then I will be, working completely for free. And then the second would obviously be the broadcasting, the podcasting. And so that was I wasn't quite prepared to get that news. That's not the news you want to get. So, obviously it had, I'm not going to lie to you and act like I'm all spiritual. It had a pretty emotional impact on me. It was a little depressing and discouraging and depressing, discouraging, maybe even a little frustrating. And you just kind of like, why? Why do you want to be here? Now, I know I'm not the first pastor to struggle with these kinds of concepts. There are churches around the country always trying to navigate financial issues and money. Not the first, won't be the last. So, it's not like, oh, poor me, but it's just like, at that point, you're like, what's the future? What does the future look like? What are we going to do? How are we going to navigate it? So, I didn't know what to do. Now, the good thing is, I'm going to take you to my email inbox because there's some good things that have arrived here. I'm going to go back to February the 11th. I'm going to go back to February the 11th in my email inbox. Okay. Here's February the 11th. I'm going to unplug my iPad so that I can bring it closer to the microphone. February the 11th. Let me go see how far back do I want to go here. All right. Let me look here. All right. So the first thing, February the 11th at 8:39 a.m. Now, this is before I even left for church. This is even before I left for church. This is even before I got the news. We received a donation for $20. Now, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the kind of, if you've got, I've talked about it so many times. If I could just have 20, 30, 40 people, just 20, 30, 40 people committing to giving $10 a month, your problems are over. All problems are solved. You get 40, 50 people giving $10 a month. Even the church problems are over. The podcast problems are over. Everything is over, right? You just need a number of people giving that much. So that's the kind of thing that you're like, oh, wow. That anytime I get one of those, I'm like, wow, now that's great. You get, again, 20, 30, 40, 50 people giving $10 a month. Your problems are gone. It's not like we don't need a lot. We don't need a lot. You just need enough to kind of just assist and just help. So that was good news. Now, I didn't know what was coming. All right. But then later, I'm going to go to church. I'm going to teach Sunday school. And then or maybe it was at the end of, it was after Sunday school. I can't remember when it was. Well, then I get the news and then I come home and I'm like, what am I going to do? I got to start trying to fix things. So at 1:58 p.m., 1:58 p.m. So in other words, I literally came straight from church. I came home. I tried to grab some food, and then immediately I started working. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? At 1:58 p.m., I got your website subscription is canceled. This is a confirmation that your website subscription for Victory Baptist Church is canceled. You may have additional active subscriptions on this website. To ensure you do not continue to pay for unwanted subscriptions, you can manage all of your subscriptions from your site's billing panel. So there was cancellation number one. That saves us about $20 a month. Okay. All right. That's nothing. Now, some may say, well, that's a bad idea because, that's your church website. I know. But look, you gotta do something. So that's the first thing. I'm like, okay, there's one thing down. So then I was thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, then I went to Mixlr. Okay. Now I canceled Mixlr. I went ahead and made sure that was canceled. That was done. Not even to look for a lower payment plan. Just we canceled Mixlr. Done. Then the next thing I started looking at is I'm looking at Spreaker going, okay, we're at $50 a month to broadcast on Spreaker. Spreaker is doing away with our live broadcasting function, but we still kind of need them as our podcast hosting site. So we're looking at a way to cancel Spreaker, drop it to its free level where we can still use it as a podcasting platform, but we won't be able to broadcast from. If we can do that, that's $50. That's $50. So if you take 50 plus the church website, now we're saving ourselves $70 a month. I'm like, okay. So I started working on that. In fact, right here, it says this was at 4:07 p.m. 4:07 p.m. All right. So 4:07 p.m. on February the 11th. I get the confirmation, hey, your Mixlr Pro subscription has been canceled. So we canceled another thing down. All right. So at this point, I'm working as fast and as hard as I can, trying to cancel anything and everything. I'm just like, okay, I got to try to lower as much money going out for the church as possible. Then at 4:40 p.m., so a Mixlr, that was at 4:07 p.m. At 4:40 p.m., I received an email from someone saying that they're listening to the podcast message today, that they're brokenhearted at the thought of you not doing Theology Central. They say, you have changed my life. Seriously, though, my Bible study reading is all new. I hope somehow you can keep it going. I was wanting to really listen to the Long Gospel series. I loved it. It has changed me, moved me to rest in Christ, moved me to rest in what Christ has done for me. Nothing more important than that. And it says, thank you. Please don't leave us. I know, don't go to begging. And then it says, sincerely in Christ. Well, very encouraging. And I mean, look, sometimes you don't know sometimes you sit in front of a microphone and an empty studio. You don't really know what you're doing. You don't know if you're impacting it. You don't know if you're doing anything. You don't know if you're accomplishing anything other than just using lots of words. So that was very encouraging. It makes you go, okay, all right. So I wonder what else I can do. Then at 4:55 p.m., someone sent me this. It says, I'm listening to you as you wrap up live while I'm writing you this. You said that after you disappeared, you won't be remembered months, years, whatever. But I want to let you know my story in regards to your podcast and the impact you have had. Now, I'm gonna read some of this, and some of this I'll skip. I mean, this is long. They wrote me. Well, I can't read everything. I'm just gonna skip around a lot of this because, some of this may be personal, so I'm just going to skip around reading some of this because, wow, this person took the time to write me. This is a long email. It says, you said that after you disappear, you won't be remembered months, years, whatever. But I want to let you know my story in regards to your podcast and the impact you've had. I first discovered you many years ago. I'm going to be skipping lines here and just reading parts of this. I enjoyed hearing your take on current news and hearing the news viewed from a Christian perspective. Then I discovered your sermons. That went further than just the top news story. I had previously had a church home, but when the pastor passed away, the church, which was small, probably the size you describe your current church as, just fell apart. That always just, it makes me sad because so many churches fall apart. They just disintegrate. They just fall apart, and it's so sad because as a pastor, you've got to, it's almost like you're like in your mind, you think a pastor, you're supposed to be praying and you're supposed to be preparing sermons and you're supposed to be learning about theology so that you can feed the people. But in a lot of ways, the job of a pastor, you got to be out there hustling. You got to be out there marketing. You got to be out there, promoting. You got to be finding a way to get people in the door. I remember I did a podcast. I don't know if you remember this, saying about you need like 30 new people a year just to maintain. You need about 30 new people per year to maintain your church because that's how the turnover is. People are going to constantly be leaving. Like, why are people always leaving? Because they're never happy. They're never content. And so you got to I got to get 30 more people. I got to get 30 more people. So pastors have to come up with programs, evangelistic campaigns. Now, sadly, those evangelistic campaigns, in many cases, is not really about evangelism. It's about trying to get people to join the church so that you can maintain the church. Then they have to do stewardship programs to try to maintain a certain amount of money. And it's like so much of it becomes a business. And I hate that part. So they were in a small church, falls apart. It just makes me sad. And it talks about that there was a very small church, basically, where mine is right now. And it says shortly after that point, I stopped attending church. None of the churches I visited were very church-like. And then they talked about, how kind of things they experienced there, and it wasn't, it doesn't sound like anything was pleasant in their experience. When I started listening to your sermons, it was like nothing I'd experienced before, and I loved it. I'm a bit of a brainiac, and I love that you went deep, that you spent months on a single chapter. Okay, and then it says, it says here. And then, so it says, years passed. Okay, they go through here. Oh, they went through some struggles, some very difficult things, and that's always horrible. And then they were talking with a friend about church and theology, and they were talking about a subject that you covered in a sermon I'd listened to, and talking about my understanding of the text, much of which I had you to thank for. I wondered about you and what had happened, so I did a search for you online, and nothing came up. So I said a prayer for you and moved on again. Years passed, and then they were discussing, and then let's see here. They just a lot of different things happened. Okay, and then they had fallen in love with some audio drama podcast, and they were looking out for new things to listen to. Then they, with the loss of Stitcher, which a very famous podcasting app, finding things had become more difficult. So they downloaded several podcasting apps. More of them than not were useless, either so buggy I couldn't get them to work on my phone or just lacked any content. So with the first week of January now in the past, I stumbled upon a podcast app called Good Pods. I started searching for podcasts there when I stumbled upon a username that I were familiar with, and they thought, no way. I clicked on it, and well, there they found me again, and then started listening, and they were all happy, and so they downloaded. So they downloaded some different things. They listened, and they started talking about all the different things they listened to, and then they talked about. Then I talked about the changes to the podcast, the cost, and all the different podcasting apps. They said that was eye-opening, and then they just talking about all the different things that happened and all the different things they were studying, the different things they were listening to, catching up, and they. they were just happy to find me, and they were very, very, grateful for everything that they had done. And, it's just I don't want to go into all their personal things and everything here, but they were just very, very, very much appreciative of everything that happened. And, I mean, it just, I don't know what else you can say, but thank you. Then they asked me some questions about my daughter. And then they talked about, I do appreciate all you do and have done. And I'm so glad that this evening's episode isn't the final episode. I will certainly keep listening for as long as you keep broadcasting, and will start supporting you. All right. That's absolutely amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And I cannot even tell you how grateful I am for the kind words. I mean, this is a long email, and it's just, they talk about everything that I've done, past, present, everything. And it's overwhelming that they would take that much time. I mean, it's like a small book. So I'm so grateful they took that time. That was at 4:55 p.m. All right. Then at 4:57, I get another email, and they're trying to point me to, I guess, that there's a ministry that will help, kind of give like a scholarship, or kind of like what's the right words they use? I don't know if they use the word as a scholarship, but they offer to try to help pay people's bills on sermon audio, which is really good. But the thing is, look, that's an awesome thing that there's a ministry out there trying to help small churches, but I think they should help small churches who need to broadcast. I know I'm a small church. I know that I'm a small church, but I'm not going to compare myself to these little small churches out there trying to survive. If there's a ministry, that's the kind of churches they need to help. And I know what you're saying, but you have a small church. I know. But for crying out loud, my podcast is one of the top 5% podcast in the world. I'm not going to compare myself to a little small church trying to struggle to get on a broadcasting. I'm not going to do that. That just seems wrong, to take money from some ministry that would offer to pay us to broadcast on sermon audio. That's wrong. I mean, we have almost 1 million downloads of all. There's just no way. If out of 1 million downloads, you can't find 20, 30 people who'll support you at $5 or $10 a month, there really isn't any point in broadcasting anymore. That's the way I'm going to look at it. I mean, 1 million downloads, and you can't get 30, 40 people to give $10 a month. I mean, at some point, you just got to be like, the game is up. So that, I so appreciate that ministry is there. But, and if you go to a church that's small and struggling to get on the internet, then I'll point you to them and let them pay for your church. Not going to pay for me. Not going to pay for mine. That's just wrong. That's just, it's not right for me to do that. Because it's not like if we were just starting out and we were a little small church where we're located now, I would take them up on it. But I have spent years broadcasting. I put forth, how many hours a week of content do I put out for people? If you email me and say, I want you to cover this, usually within 24 hours, you get a full hour-long I am providing everything in my power for people. So I'm like, at some point, either I'm producing enough and there's enough quality that someone will be like, hey, that's worth $5. That's worth $10. That's worth $2. That's worth $3. That's worth $4 a month. I'm not saying anyone should give anything, but I think there should be enough people going, hey, I get enough spiritual food from that. I can offer $3 or $4, $5, $6, $7, but I'm saying if you get enough people doing 10, pretty soon I'll turn on the microphone and say, like, that's it. I say it. We've got enough people. We've got enough. We're there. So I do appreciate that. Because the first person had been listening to me for years and 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 years. The second person has been listening to me for years and years and years and years. And so that was all very helpful. Then I get an email about one of my episodes. Then the person who sent me that long email at 7 p.m. So now I'm at church. It's at 7 p.m. I'm about to go live for our evening service. They email me, or then I get an email from PayPal, and they sent me $50. $50. Now the 50 and the 20, there you go. A month is paid for. A month of broadcasting on sermon audio / Church One, Sermons 2.0. They just paid for an entire month. It's covered. They just took care of 2 people covered it. Now, 6 people could have covered it, for $10. So now this person who sent the 50, I want to say something specifically to that person. Do not in any way, shape, or form be giving beyond what you need to take care of your bills and your necessities, and do not hurt yourself at all, any way, shape, or form financially. No one should ever help this podcast if it's going to be a sacrifice or be difficult or hurt in any way, shape, or form, right? Because if that's the case, then I truly mean this. Just email me back and say, well, that was a little too much, and I will send you back exactly whatever you need. And that is not hyperbole. I will send it back faster than anything, because I don't ever want anyone to have to. No, that's just, I don't ever want anyone to be hurt in any way, shape, or form. So there was that one. Then I got another email. Let's see here. I'm looking. I got a lot of emails, but in many cases, not about anything related to this subject. Then let's see here. Let me look here. I'm looking. There's a lot of emails here. Then I got an email at 5:20 p.m. Saying, it's very hard to think of your preaching not being a part of my life. I was forced to retire, and you're one of the main things keeping me going. Is there any way portions can be saved to listen to somewhere? And then it says, you are incredible. Thank you. And that, again, very, very, very nice. So here is, what I wanted to do is take a moment just first to thank all of the people who emailed me. That's super nice. That's awesome. That's wonderful. That's great. And I just don't, look, that's awesome. So, a month has been paid for. So thank you so very much. Here is how I'm moving forward. There's really 2 tracks here that have to be dealt with. Track 1 is more of the church-related matter, right? Now, it'd be great if the church-related matter and the podcast matter could be resolved at the same time, right? In other words, enough people support the podcast that then it really helps support the podcast and the church, and then everything is just wonderful, and we just move on, and great. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Then everything's just wonderful. That would be wonderful, okay? But I don't know if that's ever going to happen, and that's fine. So the way I'm looking at it is this. For the church, here's what I'm doing. I've canceled the church website. Our Google Business Workspace, canceled that. Boom. All right. Now, so between the church website, that's about $20. Google Workspace was about $20. There's $40. Boom. Drop that. Gonna drop that. Gonna try to get rid of Spreaker. That's $50. That's $60, $70, $80, $90. We're about $90. Okay. So maybe there's maybe a one or other thing I can possibly get rid of. Maybe I can get it down to about $100. I can probably get it to about $100 a month saved for the church. Then I'm going to cancel the high-speed internet for the church. That'll be $60, $70 a month that we will save. Now we're at $170 savings. Now that will wipe out live streaming from the church. That will wipe it out. It'll be gone. But I will be able to record the sermons at the church and then immediately upload them immediately following the preaching. So people won't be able to listen to us live at the church, but that will save us. That's going to save us another $70 a month. All right. So that's just another bill that would be gone away. So I'm going to be doing that. As I'm doing that, at some point, I'll be having communication with everyone at the church, kind of say, hey, here's how much we're bringing in. Here's how much going out. Here's how much money I saved us from going out. All right. And so now here's where we are in the I've got to get all the numbers. I don't have the numbers because I don't look at anything dealing with finances. And once we kind of get that set, then I'll be like, all right, man, maybe we've broken back to even. If we can get back to even, then we're great. All we need to do is have the same amount coming in that we have going out. That's what we need. And if we can just get to even, right? And I think we could probably get there, hopefully relatively easy. And then if we can just get there, especially with some of those cost-cutting measures, then okay. I'm still at some point going to look to possibly refinance my house and then try to, remove that, at least lessen that. Right now trying to refinance is probably not the easiest thing to do, and interest rates are not great. But we'll cross that bridge down the road, see how close we can get. So I'm going to be working on that side of things. Now that will wipe out live streaming for the church, for the sermons, okay? But hey, you got to do what you got to do. Then that's track number 1. Track 2 is the podcast. So this is what's going to happen with the podcast at this moment. We're going to try to maintain our podcast feed from Spreaker as far as going out to all the podcasting apps, right? It's already built in. It's already ready to go. And if we can do that by dropping it down to their free plan and we don't lose anything, then we're going to do that. We won't be live streaming anymore on Spreaker. That will be gone. We won't be live streaming on Mixler anymore. That will be gone. And so that will cut some of our if you go to Theology Central and look at live broadcast, that's going to cut down some of that. Those feeds are going to have to disappear. They're going to be gone. And so that will limit some of the platforms that we're broadcasting on. Obviously, we won't be broadcasting anymore live on the church website because that will be gone. All right. So, we're wiping things out left and right. Now, the one thing left will be the pod page, theologycentral.net. The reason I'm going to try to maintain that pod page is I may maintain it a little bit because you can give just like you can give on the pod page using the Sermons 2.0 app and the Church One app. You just hit the little give button. I may have tried to, if someone, what I do need to do, hang on, let me look here. I'm going to look here because I've never tested it. I'm going to go to the Church One app. Yeah, give. There's a give tab. Let me see if it works. Okay, there's a give tab there. And on the Sermons 2.0 app, I'm looking at the Sermons 2.0 app. If someone could, if someone could go to either Sermons 2.0, Theology Central, there we are, and hit the give tab and give 50 cents, give 25 cents, give $1, just whatever, so that I know that it works. I can reject it once I get it. I can send it back to you so that you won't be out $1, but then we'll at least know that it works. I've never tested it. So if that works, that will be great. That will be awesome. And then, so then we may get rid of the pod page because it cost us $20 a month for the pod page. That's coming out of the church money. So see, I think I can get us to about $200 plus savings a month for the church. I think I can get us there. So then that would mean for the podcast really to work. Now, of course, if we could get the podcast plus a little extra coming in to help the church, then, really to keep the podcast going, we could almost reduce it down to $60 a month. Now, we would only be broadcasting on Church One and Sermons 2.0, but the podcast feeds should all be there. And so therefore you could listen to everything on all the other podcasting apps. So I think we can really, considering where we were to what I've reduced it down to, I think it can be somewhat, I think we're going to be able to make it. So what I may do moving forward is the podcast may be completely disconnected from the church. Completely removed. Done. Right? Now, if we were bringing in enough money that money could then also support the church, well, then ultimately, then that's a win-win, right? If we were getting more coming in, but it would cover the podcast plus help a little bit with the ministry of the church, then that would be the ultimate win, right? Then everybody wins. You help maintain a church, you help maintain a podcast, everybody wins. But if that doesn't really work, then what I may do is completely disconnect the podcast from the church. Like click, click is like putting them together. Unclick, all right? Or click pulling them apart and separating it. So then, now if this happens, I will immediately turn on this microphone and tell you, at this moment, any gift goes directly to Victory Baptist Church, goes directly to them, goes directly to the church account, right? Not to me in any way, shape, or form. I just get an email telling me the money has been given. I don't, that's it. It's there. It goes there. But once I switch it, then the money will no longer go to the church. It would come directly to me, and then all payments for sermon audio or anything else we do for the podcast will be my responsibility. It would be coming out of my bank account. It will be coming out of my budget. And so at that point, then it would get really, I'm just going to be blunt with you. The first time I can't pay it, the first time I have to pay it is going to be the end, because at that point it's just going to be like, well, look, the people have spoken, right? And what they always say, the people speak. And if the people don't want what you're giving, well, then they'll let you know. They won't support it. And then you walk away. That's what happens. You know how many podcasts begin and how many podcast ends? You know how many? It's never ending. It's a never ending circle. Oh, I'm going to start a podcast. Well, forget that. It's way too much work, way too much time, and I'm not getting paid for this. So people quit. So that's kind of where we are. So I think what we're going to do is we've got two tracks. I'm reducing all the cost as much as humanly possible, which is hopefully going to help the church, right? Hopefully we can get to that proper equilibrium, that proper balance. And then with the podcast, I think I've reduced it down to, we should be able to survive. If we can't get 6 people giving $10 a month, I'm in a whole lot of trouble, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in a whole lot of trouble. If I can't get 6, but the point is, I think we'll be able to maintain that. We'll be able to maintain that. Now, I've got some people trying to give more, and I don't want them to give. I would like to be able to reduce it so nobody has to give more than the very bare minimum. And then it would be great if the church grew. If the church was to grow and we go back to a growth spurt, then I could just turn on the microphone and say, okay, guys, you don't have to give anymore. Just stop. And trust me, that's the first thing I would do. That's the first thing I would do, because I'm not here to try to make money. I'm here to just be able to, maintain it. I know in some ways podcasting is like a job. You spend hours. Look at how many hours of work I put in. So, but yeah, that's kind of where we are. And trust me, I don't like doing these broadcasts. I don't, but they have to be done because you see the emails that I get. So to the person who sent me the long email, clearly they've gone through some difficult times. And I don't want their difficult times to in any way, shape, or form mean that you're sacrificing or suffering or going without to give. Please just stop. Don't. And if that's the case, I need you to email me in 5 seconds. I need you to email me in 5 seconds, because I'll have your money sent back to you in 10 seconds. All right. Because we don't want that. I don't want anyone hurting themselves financially in any way, shape, or form. I don't want anyone doing anything like that. No one should suffer. No one should do without. There should be no sacrifice. There should be literally nothing. If you have been blessed by what I do, if you appreciate all the content, all the hours, and you benefit in some small way, and you have the means to help a little, great. If you have the means but you don't want to, great. If you want me to go off the air, great. All right. That's kind of where we are. So no one panic yet. We got 2 paths, 2 things to fix. And I'm hoping we can fix both. But even if the church goes, the end, and we just call it a day, and hopefully everyone walks away. No one walks away hurt. No one walks away discouraged. No one walks away frustrated. but we all part in a good way, which I think we could. I think everyone would, if we do, then the podcast, say that's why I'm thinking about disconnecting it from the church. So when that happens, then it's already set up and then I don't have to do anything and you already know what's happening. But I will promise you, if the giving tabs on the Sermons 2.0 app, Church One app, or the theologycentral.net pod page, as long as that pod page exists, if at any point that changes where that money is coming directly to my account, I will 1,000% tell you that. And if you don't want to give because of that, I 1,000% understand that. I 100% understand that. Right now, it goes to a church. Goes to their bank account. All right? There you go. I don't have anything to do with that. So, but the payments come out of the church. It comes out of the church, right? The church card is connected to those accounts, and the payments come from the church. So right now, my hands are off all of it. My hands are off all of it. But once it comes from me, then the money comes directly to me. So meaning, if I get $100 one month and I only need 50 or 60 to pay for the podcast, well, then that's 50 or 60, whatever the case may be, extra in my bank account, right? And if I got 300, that would be in my bank account. So please understand how that would work, right? Now, if that extra came in, it goes directly to the church ministry. Like right now, if you sent me, let's say right now someone sent $3,000. Well, $3,000 would cover, obviously broadcasting for, I don't know, I'd have to figure out the numbers. That's like 2 years, 3 years of broadcasting. But whatever the case may be, it would go to paying the podcast, but it would then go to anything else for the church. So that's how you need to understand how that works. Now, that would be great. We fixed the church problems for, what I'm saying? Like, then everything is fixed. But so that's why I may disconnect it. So if the church goes, the podcast is separate. So that's what may happen. But as of right now, it's still a part of that. So that's what we're looking forward to. So for everyone who's emailed me, thank you so very much. To that long email, I wish I could have read more of it. I know I was kind of reading and skipping and kind of, because I didn't want to go into every little detail of it. But I just wanted you to see that someone took the time to do that. And I'm very appreciative of that and very grateful for that. That meant the world to me. Very encouraging. And I will email them back about the updates about my daughter. Because if you listen a long time ago, my daughter was diagnosed with a disease. It was that was a rough night of broadcasting. So don't ever want to go back to that. But yeah. So the main thing is I'll just say this. So because if I don't get a chance to email, that my daughter who's diagnosed with that disease, at one point, she was paralyzed and never thought she would walk again. And that whole story is crazy. But now she's walking. She in one way, she's great. She works for a major airline in the United States. She flies all over the world. She's great, but her disease is only going to progressively get worse. And so she will have surgery, a major back surgery in the next, 2 months, 3 months. And that's going to be a big deal. But her doctor has the exact same disease as she has. So the doctor thinks that it's the way to go, but there's definitely serious risk for it. And but hopefully it will alleviate the never-ending pain she's in. So that's the update with her. She's doing great. Other than that, other than the disease, everything else is going wonderful and great for her. So that's that. And I don't know. I think they had another question. Hang on, let me at least answer it. I think they had another question. Let me look. I should have just answered the question when I read the original email, but I apologize. This was not all, planned out and mapped out. This is just trying to answer all of the emails so that people know what's going on. Because I don't want people to go into a complete panic yet. But I would tell you, if there's stuff online you want, download it. I will tell you that. Because once everything goes away, it's going to go away. So hopefully, but you'll know in advance. You see, okay, here we go. Their second question was, Okay. So someone asked this question. I understand not, or the person who wrote the wrong email. I understand not being able to continue making new content if the funds to cover doing so aren't there, but what is the reason for removing older content from being available? All right, well, here's the thing. Here's what happens. You have to pay money to have your content available. In other words, if we can't make our payment to Sermon Audio, well, they're not going to leave all of my content there, right? They're going to remove the old. It's gone. They're not just going to keep a never-ending archive of someone who used to broadcast for them. It costs $60 a month to broadcast, and it costs $60 a month to have them host all of your content. Once you go away, your account's deleted, all your stuff's going away. If Spreaker, and now I still got to look at their right now, it's $50 a month. Their zero plan is now really different because they've done away with broadcasting. But if they charge for me to have the older content there, if I'm not paying that monthly fee, then the older content is gone. If I try to put the older content on a website, well, I got to pay then for the website. I have to have monthly hosting site for that. And I gotta have an embedded, archive no matter what you do, it's going to cost money to put it somewhere. Even if you're not adding new, it's going to cost money to maintain it. All right. Now, I think many of the podcasting apps, the reason you have it on that podcast app that you're using is, guess what? Is because of it's coming from Spreaker. If Spreaker goes away, then all of that content goes away. So, that's why everything would disappear. That's why everything would disappear. Or I would be paying a monthly fee to trying to maintain it. So if I'm paying a monthly fee to maintain it, well, then I would be then being able to produce new, right? So there you go. So that's the question. I think a lot of people everything, but everything costs money. If you get your podcast out there, it costs money. Now I could possibly move it to, I think, Spotify for podcasters. It was Anchor. Now, I think if I can pull my RSS feed, I think maybe, see, then it's going to get all questionable. So maybe there'll be a way to maintain it somehow. So I will look for options and look, but most of the cases, nobody's going to let you have all of that storage and all of, it costs money to store all of your content. So, if someone's got to maintain that RSS feed, so there you go. Once wherever you've got it, it goes away. It all goes by. It disappears. It's gone. It's gone. And it can happen really quick, just like that. I don't know how quickly, but if I don't pay my bill for Sermon Audio, I bet you, the Church One app and my content will probably be gone within a relatively short amount of time. It would be gone. And I don't know how quick Spreaker would get rid of it. It would be gone. I know with Mixler, they give you 14 days. I think they give you 14 days and then it's gone. Gone. It's no more. It's no more. They give you 14 days to download it or do whatever you want with it. You can't do any broadcasting, but they'll give you 14 days to maintain the archive and then they delete it all. So that's how it works. Everything costs money. This microphone costs money. This computer that I'm broadcasting on costs money. The Wi-Fi extender that's right across the room, that's giving me the Wi-Fi signal so that it's strong enough to broadcast from the studio, cost money. The internet that I'm using at a high enough speed to be able to broadcast without any problems, cost money. Everything to broadcast on and I'm using a Spreaker right now to record, and I'm broadcasting live on the Church One Sermons 2.0 app. That's costing money. Everything. And it's the sad facts of things. So that's okay. Other churches can raise millions of dollars. And that's great. That's great. Now I'm going to be a little jaded here. All right. And I'll end with this. I'll be a little jaded. I get those emails every week from ministries trying to get money every week. And sometimes I'm like, You produce one program per week. And you're asking for $500,000? Or you're asking for $100,000? Or you produce 5 programs a week and you're asking for $1 million? And I'll be looking like I'm broadcasting multiple hours a day. And I just need a couple of $100. You know what I'm saying? I just need a couple of $100. That's it. I don't need $500,000. I don't need $300,000. I mean, look, if you want to give me $100,000, I'll pay off my house. I'll only owe $80,000. Yeah, pay off my house. And then guess what? You pay off. Here's what we could do. You pay off my house. I think it's between $80,000 and $90,000 left. Boom. We'll never have to ask another cent for the podcast. I'll pay for all the podcasting after. Once my house payment is gone, I'm telling you, once my house payment is gone, I am set financially for the rest of my life. That's how close I am to being set financially for the rest of my life. That's it. Because if my house payment was gone and I didn't have that to worry about, then I'm set. I'm good to go. I'm good to go. So, yeah. And the church would be perfect. The church would be great. We'd be bringing in, we would be perfect. Everything would be perfect. So, yeah. We could do that. Let's just make it 90,000 just to be sure. And then there you go. And if there's any extra, then I'll pay for broadcasting for a year. But all right. But the point is, I get those emails constantly. And in some ways, sometimes I get a little frustrated because I'm like, man, I produce 50 times the content. Now, you could argue their content's better, and it may be. I won't argue that. I mean, I know I make a million mistakes. But man, shouldn't the quantity at some point make up for the lack of quality? I would hope so. But there you go. There you go. That's kind of where we are. Or we things look better, not perfect, but they do look better. They do look better. And what's great is those encouraging emails. Those are so very encouraging, and I'm very grateful. So please don't give anything if it's going to in any way hurt you in any way, shape, or form. Do not do that. If you have done that, please email me back, and I will return the money instantaneously. No questions asked. And so we hope we can, we'll see. My goal is to give it to June or July, August, somewhere summertime. And then at that point, we'll see. At that point, look, the writing's going to be on the wall. Probably within the next 2 to 4 weeks, I'm going to have a really good idea where the future of the church looks like. Probably within 2 to 4 weeks, I'll have a good idea what the future of the church looks like. And then I'll either disconnect the podcast, click, and then I'll start having within about a month to 3 months, I'm going to have a good idea where the podcast is. I'm going to look, my email inbox is going to be the key. My email inbox is going to be the key. All right. So, but if you would like to help me right now, I'm looking. Okay. If you would like to help me right now, this is what I need you to do. And I mean this. If you can go to the Sermons 2.0 app or the Church One app and hit the Give tab, $1.50. I literally will. I will deny it when it comes in. I will deny it. I think I can hit the button to deny it or send it back. I'll send it back, but I just want to see if those apps work, because if they do, then I'm probably going to delete the pod page. Oh, that took a lot of work getting the pod page up. It really did. That's going to really be depressing. But I'll probably cancel it because that's $20 a month that will be saved. And so, yeah, the pod page, that is good. That took so long. And so because I had to do, because I was there when it was beta. I was part of pod page when it was a beta testing. So yeah, that'll be sad to see that go. But you know what? Hey, you can't, when you get to a certain position, you just be grateful for what you do have and not worry about what you don't have. So, all right, there you go. I apologize for taking up 49 minutes of your time, but I wanted to answer all the questions, give everyone a good idea. I'm hopeful. Now we'll see what the future is going to look like. And we will probably know. I'm probably going to be able to give you a very good update in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I think we're going to have a really good idea where we stand in 2 weeks. I think so. So for now, the Theology Central podcast is not going anywhere. So here's what I would tell you. If there's something you want me to cover, you better email me ASAP, okay? Before the time runs out. I can take your final request, right? This is the last DJ, and you've got one option. Send me what you want me to cover now, and I will start making a list and covering it before I'm gone. Now, just remember, even if I covered it today, next week I may not believe the same thing. I may change my view. So, all right, you can email me. All right, thanks for listening. Everyone have a great night. That's the latest. I apologize for having to do this, but it's either respond to emails or just turn on the microphone and do that. Every once in a while, you got to, all ministries do some kind of an email segment sometimes to kind of do all of the housekeeping. So we just had to do a little bit more housekeeping lately about this kind of stuff. And we'll get done with this and we'll move on. You know what I would like? To never, ever, 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 ever get back together with this kind of a podcast episode. I had to use a little Taylor Swift there, but because I feel dirty. I feel dirty talking about it. I hate it. I hate it. So, I loathe it. Oh, I would rather the podcast go away. And I'm just going to be honest. I would rather the podcast go away than ever have to do this ever again. And I've had to do it way too many times because we've been talking about this at least since October of 2023. And I'm So if there's anything that's going to make me just say I'm done, it's this right here. I'm not going to turn this into having to ask and beg. I'm not. People, you know the situation now. Either it's worth something, and if it's not, it's not. And that's perfectly okay. I can live with that. All right. Thanks. Everyone have a great night. God bless.